I'm more than delighted to be here today, showcasing our first Africa Elevation interview for our I Had Africa campaign. Today we're going to be chatting with one of the proprietors of Bold Fashion House Kampala, located in Okasha Mall. Her name is Nunu Mujenyi, and in my opinion, she is one of the most prolific and visionary young entrepreneurs in the Kampala fashion retail business today. Thank you so much for having us here today, Nunu.
Thank you for taking the time to come by and share our story. We really appreciate that. Thank you for that amazing introduction. Very humbled by that.
So I'm sitting here in Bold and I see so many fabulous fashion designers, and it hits me that most of them are predominantly African. So I was wondering as to whether this was one of your core objectives, starting up your company to host mainly African designers?
When we started this business, myself and my two business partners, I think our idea was predominantly for Ugandan designers. But we've since expanded that concept to African designers.
Say I was an up-and-coming designer. Obviously, one of my goals would be to want to exhibit and showcase my pieces in a high-end retail such as Bold. What is your screening process like with regards to what fashion designers you choose to exhibit in the store?
The screening process I have found is a bit of an evolving process, in that what it was in the beginning is not necessarily what it is now, because we are constantly trying to increase our standards and where we're going. So our standards of getting into the store are higher today than they were when we just started. Having said that, one of the lists of things that needs to be in terms of the criteria is you need to be an African designer. Whether you're in the diaspora or you're in Africa, you need to be an African designer.
What's the maximum number of brands that you can stock in Bold at the time?
The content of the store is not restricted to clothing. We carry clothing, accessories, shoes, bags, jewelry. The nature of the display units and how much space each designer takes varies depending on what it is that they're making. So for now, we're carrying 35 different designers. And I would say there's space for, I don't know, another 6? Yeah. We are trying to keep this as creative a space as possible. Okay. So each unit, it's very clear which designer they are. It's not necessarily clear which country they're from, and maybe one day we need to work on that. But what they put on their display unit, that's usually up to them. We just make sure that it's of standard, we make sure that they've met the requirements, but we are not yet at the stage where we dictate what they bring in. Okay. Unless we feel unless we feel it's necessary, and that is also in our contract. Okay. That's when we sometimes come in and be like, okay, we prefer that you bring this. But really what we're trying to do is let them tell their story without, changing it too much for them. Yeah.
I realize that you have a very good eye with regards to what pieces you exhibit in the store. And I'm just wondering, with regards to the actual pieces, does it matter to you that they're predominantly made in Africa? Do you look backtracking all the way from the sourcing of the fabric all the way to the manufacturing and production stages, that it has to inherently be done in Africa for it to be exhibited in the store? Or are you flexible with regards to where the pieces come from, the fabrics come from, as long as they are done by African designers?
This is a platform for entrepreneurs, mainly in the African fashion industry. When you walk through the store, you can see the different things that the different designers are doing, the different stories that they're telling without us telling it for them. So in terms of, do I have a good eye in terms of what's on the rack? That's not on me, that's them. This is them. Yeah, that's their creative story. In terms of the fabric, no, we won't look into where it comes from. And I mean, even the fabric that they bought here, a lot of the fabric that you find here in Africa is not necessarily made in Africa, so we don't take our screening process that far back. Some brands in the store, and I think there's only about 2 or 3 at the moment, are made by Africans who are not based in Africa at the moment. So people who are from the region, from Uganda, or from wherever they may be, but their production process is currently done outside of Africa. So there are 3 exceptions in the store at the moment who are based on the fact that it's an African brand. So I would say 90% of the production in store at the moment is done in Africa. But some people are Africans based outside of Africa. So their production process is currently outside of the country.
It's interesting that you would say that you have some designers who are African but actually are doing their manufacturing process from outside Africa. But I just want to know, inherently, how many countries are you representing in the store at the moment?
So of the 35 designers that we're currently partnered with, they represent a total of 7 African countries. Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, and Tunisia. But as of yesterday, I signed a contract with a South African designer, so our number actually has now gone up to 8 different African countries.
I was just thinking, of course, you have the fashion store, which is one of the ventures with which you promote the African designers that you're currently hosting. Do you have any other platforms with which you do promotions for the brands that you represent currently?
Besides our physical location, which we're at now, we promote the people that we're in partnership with on our social media pages. I would say that's the second promotion after the actual physical store. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Our website is currently in the works. And we hope to one day be able to have an online store where people can reach us beyond, our borders across the world. So I would say that's the main thing.
So Bold doesn't only necessarily promote brands that are based in fashion and design. Tell us a little bit about the other African ventures that you're currently promoting.
A small section of the store is dedicated to creatives in other industries that we feel complement the stock that we've got now. So specifically the cosmetic industry and the music industry. So mixtapes and CDs and albums and locally made like creams and sherbet and stuff like that that are also made locally, that are for entrepreneurs that we also feel need to be promoted, that aren't necessarily making clothing.
So tell us a little bit about how the challenges that come with regards to trying to promote African brands. Do you think that the market would receive or perceive Western brands much higher than they do? Have you had challenges in that aspect in promoting predominantly African brands, as opposed to, let's say, if Bold was showcasing Western fashion houses?
In terms of the way in which the concept has been received by Ugandans, Africans worldwide, has been very humbling. It has been far beyond our expectations in terms of when we started this business. I still get surprised when people like you call me up and be like, so I'd like to have an interview with you and hear what you have to say. I don't know when I'll ever get used to that. But it's been a very positive response. We're very grateful. So thank you for your support. I have found, and this has been one of our greater challenges, that there has been a reluctance for locals to buy local. We don't, as Africans, we don't seem to have that much faith in ourselves, in what we are able to produce, which I think is a big problem, but one that we are, and so many other people in their own different ways, it's a consumer mindset that we're trying to break. So did I think it would be well received? For sure there were challenges. Have I seen a difference since we started? Definitely, from throughout, even like on a global basis. And I'm not saying that Bold did this, but there has definitely been a shift in terms of an interest in the African industry, which I think was triggered by the recent African print trend. Now there's an interest in what are African designers doing, what's happening. So I would say the greatest challenge, one of the greater challenges, is convincing the locals to buy local. And once so there's two ways in which we've had to approach that, to convince people to buy local and then make sure that the locals are striving to increase their standard so that we continue to break the negative connotation that come with stuff that's produced locally.
It's interesting that you would say that, local not wanting to buy local, because this is one of the mindsets that Africa Elevation intends to break. We really see an Africa where we appreciate our own Africa in the sense that you say. So I'm very, very pleased and very thankful for you having that initiative. in your company. So I'm just wondering, where do you see Bold in the next 5 years? Do you see yourselves going global? Do you want to go outside of Africa? Is this one of the ventures that you're looking at as a long-term plan?
Absolutely, absolutely. It would be amazing if we could go global. Where do I see us? I would hope and will do everything in my power and the power of my business partners to work in the direction of growth, to continue to grow, to get bigger, to get better, to be accessible worldwide. If it means opening outlets, it would be fantastic if we could be a franchise. Yeah, that's the direction I would say in which we're heading.
So what advice would you have for all the African youth who are out there who have the big dream of starting up their own company with regards to what challenges should they expect and what benefits, of course, come with owning your own company, the cherry on top?
Starting up your own company, the highs are very high and the lows are very low. There are challenges. I was talking to someone the other day and they were saying starting a business for the longest time, you spend the bulk of your time putting out fires. So you need to be prepared for that. And have found that if you are genuinely passionate about what it is that you are doing and you are into it and you're feeling it and you're pushing it 100%, then you can withstand all the challenges that will come your way, because there will be challenges. So my advice to young entrepreneurs would be to do something that they are good at, do something that they're passionate about, find a way to make it profitable, and as cliche as it sounds, never give up, because there will be days when you feel like you want to, but just to keep at it, consistent.
So thank you so much for having us and chatting with us and inviting us into your wonderful, creative, colorful, innovative space. And we really, really, really appreciate all the work and all the grounds that you're breaking in the Kampala fashion retail industry, and we wish you many blessings, and we hope to see you rise and rise higher. Thank you. At Africa Elevation, it is a dream of ours to celebrate and empower Africans all over the globe. I hope by watching this video, you are just as we are inspired to elevate. Thank you.